Hello. We at Los Angeles County Public Works are here to provide you information on the building requirements in the flood hazard areas of unincorporated Los Angeles County. Los Angeles County Public Works is the floodplain manager for the county's unincorporated areas. There are 85 other cities in the county that have their own floodplain managers. This presentation focuses on building requirements in flood hazard areas in unincorporated Los Angeles County. No area is free of flood risk, including Los Angeles County. It's a matter of knowing your risk and being prepared for it. Los Angeles County has a wide variety of geographical features. The county has multiple microclimates. The county has always had weather extremes. The county is subject to a flood-drought cycle. Rains result in vegetation sprouting. Dry seasons and droughts dry out the vegetation. Dry vegetation is susceptible to wildfires. And sometimes the dry periods last so long that people forget that it rains in Los Angeles County. And when it does, the rains can be intense. Floods in Los Angeles County can occur very quickly. We call these flash floods. Intense rainfall events on burned watersheds result in large debris flows. These effects are being magnified by climate change. Flooding occurs all over the country, so reducing flooding impacts is a concern of the federal government. Congress enacted the National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP, primarily in response to the lack of availability of private insurance and continued increases in federal assistance after flood disasters. The county joined the NFIP to allow residents access to NFIP flood insurance and federal flood disaster assistance. The county agreed to engage in floodplain management and ensure the county's projects and the county's regulation of development comply with NFIP standards. Defining flood risk is a vital task under the National Flood Insurance Program, so FEMA developed flood insurance rate maps. We'll talk about special flood hazard areas in the next couple of slides. A special flood hazard area is the inundation area of the 1 in 100, or 1%, annual chance flood. The term has been verbally shortened to the 100-year flood. FEMA also calls this the base flood. The water level associated with this flood is the base flood elevation. Enforcement of National Flood Insurance Program regulations is required for the county's participation in the NFIP. This makes federally backed flood insurance available to you. For unincorporated Los Angeles County, the special flood hazard areas are mapped as A zones for creeks and streams, or V zones for coastal lands. Zone A, the flood risk is less defined. It's more difficult to identify the design flood level. Zones AE, AH, and AO, the risk is better defined. They have base flood elevations or depths. It's easier to identify the design flood level. Zone VE, the risk is also better defined. For our unincorporated coastal area here, the properties in this zone are government-owned, state and county. Now, you may think a 1% annual chance isn't much of a risk, but over the years, the odds of flooding add up. Over the life of a 30-year mortgage, the odds of the base flood occurring is over 1 in 4, or 26%. Over a 100-year period, the chances of the base flood occurring is about 63%. The county also regulates development in floodplains using county floodway maps adopted by the Board of Supervisors. Sometimes the county will use floodway maps that the Board of Supervisors has not adopted if they provide the best available flood hazard information. County floodway maps are not used to identify a government mandate for flood insurance. The county assessor's maps may also show flood hazard areas identified by a tract map or parcel map. The assessor's map will show a map book and pages for the tract or parcel. The actual tract map or parcel map is a scale drawing, so the limits of the flood hazard area can be measured. The county also regulates development in these mapped flood hazard areas. The assessor's maps are not used to identify a government mandate for flood insurance. There are properties that are deemed by FEMA to be repetitive loss properties due to multiple flood insurance claims over the years. There may be properties close by that may be exposed to the same flood hazard. The area encompassing all these properties is called a repetitive loss area. These properties may not necessarily be mapped by FEMA maps, or county floodway maps, or county assessors maps. The county has prepared a repetitive loss area analysis for the unincorporated areas, which is available at Public Works' National Flood Insurance Program website. Due to the Federal Privacy Act, the county's repetitive loss area analysis does not identify property addresses. However, the county annually mails specific information to the owners of the properties in the repetitive loss areas, so they should be already aware of the potential presence of flood hazards on their property. The county regulates development on repetitive loss area properties to address the potential flood hazard. The repetitive loss area delineations are not used to identify a government mandate for flood insurance. Any property may have multiple flood hazard areas. So, the map or designation that yields the strictest development requirements is considered the best available information for flood hazards, and thus rules for building projects. Again, the county floodway maps, assessors maps, and repetitive loss area designations are not used to identify a government mandate for flood insurance. Only the FEMA maps are. You can reach Public Works' flood zone determination website through the Water for LA County website's flood preparation webpage. Public Works' flood zone determination website can identify the FEMA flood zones and any county-mapped flood hazard areas on every property in Los Angeles County. Just click on your property or enter your property's address. The flood zone website has links to the actual FEMA flood insurance rate maps, county floodway maps, and county assessors maps, and links to elevation certificates associated with finished permitted construction in unincorporated areas. These only go back to the mid-1990s, and elevation certificates done by homeowners themselves for insurance purposes are not included. The Flood Zone app is also mobile-friendly. You can get Public Works' repetitive loss area analysis through the 2020 Floodplain Management Plan webpage on Public Works' NFIP and County Floodways website. The repetitive loss area analysis identifies the repetitive loss areas in unincorporated Los Angeles County. When in doubt about whether your property is in a repetitive loss area, contact Public Works through the flood analysis email or NFIP hotline. The contact information is at the end of this presentation. A lot of property owners undertake building on empty lots or undertake building additions. They either pull their own permits or get very involved in the permit process. Structures may need to be rebuilt or substantially repaired after floods or wildfires. So, we're going to do an overview of the flood resiliency requirements for building projects in floodplains. They're based on the principle of floodplain management, which is required by the National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP. Developers and Public Works have flood resiliency requirements for their projects. Public Works is the floodplain manager for the county's unincorporated areas. Los Angeles County is one of the only highly rated community rating system communities in California that still allows new construction in FEMA 100-year floodplains. However, strict flood resiliency requirements must be met. And there's a push to require NFIP participating communities to prohibit new construction in 100-year floodplains. 85 other cities in the county participate in the NFIP and do their own floodplain management. Floodplain management roles and responsibilities are spread over numerous areas in Public Works. Building and Safety and Land Development divisions ensure single lot and large-scale developments do not increase flood hazards and do meet flood resiliency standards. Project Development divisions and Design division ensure Public Works' project designs do not increase flood hazards. The county's floodplain manager interprets county floodway code and FEMA requirements for development services divisions and project managers, and coordinates with FEMA on flood insurance rate map revisions and matters relating to compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program, including audits of the county's compliance with the program's requirements. Department of Regional Planning is also involved with its updates of requirements of the county's general plan, the safety element, and community standards districts, and its issuance of conditional use permits. Flood resiliency requirements have been inserted into several places in the county code: county floodway maps, FEMA flood insurance rate maps, and sometimes county assessor maps identify high flood hazard areas. Not all unincorporated areas have county floodway maps or assessor-mapped flood hazard areas. The county's channel ordinance covers flood safety in unmapped areas and where the building codes don't apply, such as walls or fences crossing flow paths, large objects placed in flow paths, such as containers, and revegetation projects and watercourses. Although the state of California oversees mobile home park operations, the county's Department of Regional Planning still oversees the establishment of new ones. The county's Department of Regional Planning coordinates with Public Works' Land Development Division on mining projects. Here are the minimum flood resiliency requirements for projects in floodplains. We can't allow a cumulative increase in the FEMA base flood elevation of greater than 1 foot in the area without a conditional letter of map revision, or CLOMR, issued from FEMA prior to construction. A final letter of map revision, or LOMR, is required after construction. CLOMRs and LOMRs are significant undertakings. This is why for single-lot developments, we allow no base flood elevation rise beyond the lot boundary. Many 100-year flood areas are mapped as an approximate Zone A, so there's no base flood elevations defined. This makes compliance difficult for developers, especially single-lot developers. Projects may additionally be required to consider the county capital flood. Where the county has higher standards, National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP, requires the higher standard be used. So the NFIP requires compliance with county capital flood standards. Please note, when drainage facilities are designed for capital flood flow, the flow cannot be used for the FEMA CLOMRs and LOMRs. The FEMA flows must be used. Structures. The lowest floors and components must be elevated 1 foot above the base flood elevation for most structures, 2 feet above the base flood elevation or at the 500-year flood elevation for critical structures, such as police or fire stations, schools, or hospitals. Substantial improvement, substantial damage. We'll get to why this factor needs to be considered. Elevation certificates are required for finished construction. They document floor and component elevations, which is important for flood insurance. For the county, they document compliance with flood resiliency standards. This is important for FEMA audits. When structures or drainage facilities are designed for the county capital flood, FEMA flood elevations must still be used for the elevation certificates. Substantial improvement, substantial damage, or SISD. When the cumulative cost of projects on the building reach or exceed 50% of the pre-work or pre-damage structure, the entire structure must be made compliant. It doesn't take much for improvements or repairs on modest value structures to trigger the SISD upgrade requirement. Past building permits for the structure will be reviewed to determine the cumulative value of past improvements over the years. We want to tell you about the National Flood Insurance Program's Community Rating System, or CRS. Los Angeles County entered the CRS to get flood insurance discounts for unincorporated area residents. CRS participants adopt higher building standards than the National Flood Insurance Program's minimum requirements. The lowest floors and building components must be at least 1 foot higher than the FEMA base flood elevation. Los Angeles County appears to be the only community of Class 6 or better in California to allow new construction in 100-year floodplains. There's a push to require all communities participating in the National Flood Insurance Program to prohibit new construction in 100-year floodplains. CRS activities get audited every 5 years. Los Angeles County's CRS class is based on the audit results. FEMA now requires annual audits of the elevation certificates. The annual number of certificates issued in the unincorporated areas is so low, a single incorrect certificate is troublesome for Los Angeles County. The county undertakes a lot of outreach activities to reach CRS credits. The floodplain management plan and repetitive loss area analysis must get updated every 5 years. The 2020 update was adopted by the Board of Supervisors in June 2021. These documents contain measures which include annual informational mailings to flood-prone owners and residents, and to lenders, realtors, and insurance companies. And it's challenging to reach rural renters whose mail is delivered to post office boxes instead of the properties. Also includes annual progress reports to FEMA. Go to the Water for LA County website's flood preparedness webpage to get the flood zone determination website. The flood zone app is also mobile friendly. The consequences of noncompliance are significant. The county itself isn't punished. Its unincorporated residents are. We are here to assist. Please reach out to us if you have additional questions. Also, here are the links to the Water for LA County website and Public Works' NFIP and County Floodways website. If you have questions on building requirements, here are links to Public Works' Building and Safety website and Public Works' Service Locator website to identify the building and safety office serving your unincorporated area. Make sure construction is among the services selected. For viewers located in incorporated cities in Los Angeles County, check with your city's building and safety office for the standards that apply in your city. We encourage you to look at these additional presentations, which provide useful information on preparing for, handling, and recovering from flood events. If you haven't seen a presentation for your area, just hold on. There will be. Thank you. We hope this information helps you understand the considerable requirements for building in the floodplains of unincorporated Los Angeles County. We at Public Works wish you a good day and hope you stay safe.